Well, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Divij podcast, episode 160. Man, it's so good to be back. I haven't filmed an episode in a couple weeks because we were traveling, and yeah, I'm just happy to be back with you guys. No guests today because we've been doing the solo episodes, and I was like, let me just keep this rolling. I kind of like just sitting here and talking to you guys directly, and just honestly like freeballing my thoughts. I people always ask me like, Divij, why do you podcast? And I feel like for me at this point, it's become almost a version of therapy. Like it's like I can come here, I can sit down, I can have a conversation, I can just talk to the camera, spitball my thoughts. And I think recently I've been posting these videos on my Instagram where I'm just like trying to post positive encouragement for people because I feel the encouragement and I want to share that with people. And I realized that for a long time in my 20s, I'm almost 30 now, I'm 29. And a lot of my 20s, I wasn't really speaking out about how I was feeling, what my emotions were, like, the things that were on my heart. And, obviously I had a bunch of guests on the podcast and we had great conversations. We learned a lot and I'm very grateful for that journey. I realized that I was almost like holding back a lot of my opinions and feelings and emotions because it's a level of like you can process things yourself and you feel like maybe you don't need to tell people how you're feeling about things or like where you're at with stuff, and you're like, I'm just going to deal with it. And I think a lot of us as men, we tend to do that too. It's like we feel like we don't need to go out and express ourselves verbally, but we just like to keep it in, and we have different ways of dealing with it. I mean, it's not like a building up thing. It's more like, I think I can process this and move on from it without speaking out. But I think after I started really getting vocal about my opinions and my thoughts and my feelings and my emotions, like it really helped a lot. And so I want to encourage you guys to do that, especially if you're a man and you feel like, what, I need to be the strong person in the house, or for my friends and my family, and you feel like, I don't need to tell people my thoughts. I want to encourage you about the opposite. I want to encourage you that, it's great to express how you're feeling. It's great to talk things out, and it really just helps you honestly move forward from things that might be holding you back. And anyways, we're not going to get into that too much, guys. I just honestly wanted to come on here and give you a life update because the last couple of weeks have been honestly some of the most incredible weeks of my life that I've ever had. I mean, we went to Australia and New Zealand for the first leg of the Bryce Crawford podcast tour. And, it's something that we've been working on for many, many, many months. And, launching a tour is one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had. I mean, I remember being 17, 18 years old. There's this moment I remember in particular. I was in a Starbucks in India in the bathroom. And I remember I pulled out my notes app and I wrote in my notes, I was like, when I grow older, I want to tour with an artist. I want to, start a business and become the entrepreneur that's putting these things together. And I just remember when I was like 17, I had written that down when I was like, I don't really know how that's going to manifest or what it's going to look like or how it's going to happen or who it's going to be with. But I knew in my heart that that was something that was going to unfold. And, to be honest, I thought it was going to be rappers and rap music and artists and stuff like that. And it's turned into something completely different. I mean, finding Jesus over the last couple of years and now being able to work with some of the most incredible humans that I've ever met that are extremely knowledgeable about the Christian faith and, have such a desire to be close to the Lord and to bring other people closer to the Lord as well has been like the biggest blessing in my life. And so, we started last year with the George Janko Show tour at the end of 2025. And, that was 3.5 months of traveling around the U.S. with George and his wife and Jesse from his team and all these people. And we had such a beautiful time. I mean, going city to city, like cities that I never thought I would go to. Like, I think it was like Idaho and Kentucky and, Chattanooga, Tennessee. I mean, places that I was like, they're on the map, but like, you don't really think about going to those places. You think about like New York or Miami or LA. And I got to see a different side of the United States, which was so encouraging because especially in the Bible Belt, I mean, you see like the desire and heart for Jesus that people have in those areas. And it truly was just so awesome. And, so coming off of that tour and then going directly into this new tour with Bryce, which has been, again, we went to Australia and New Zealand for 5 shows. We went to Sydney, Brisbane, Melbourne, and then we actually flew over all the way to New Zealand and we did a show in New Zealand. Man, I can't even describe how incredible that was to see thousands of kids and even adults and older people, senior citizens, etc., just the heart for the Lord, and that Jesus is working not only in the United States, not only where I'm at in LA, but in these international places. And it's just so awesome to see the next generation and their heart for Christ. And, I think one of the biggest blessings about doing these shows, which if you haven't been, there's another tour coming up actually starting this Tuesday for the next month and a half called the I Love Jesus Tour. We're doing 24 shows across the U.S., and we're taking a I Love Jesus tour bus, and we're starting in Phoenix, Arizona. We're driving it literally all around the U.S. And, it's, if you get a chance, the tour is sold out. We do have a couple days that have openings. And if you guys really want to come and you're listening to this podcast, please send me a DM or an email, and I'll do my best to be able to accommodate and get you guys seats at the show, because I do feel like everybody should come and just feel the presence of God, feel the worship. It's just so beautiful. And, I think I'm so bullish that this year and for years to come, Christ is going to just continue to do unimaginable things. And, I feel this new profound, just explosion of desire for Christ in modern day culture. I mean, a couple years ago, we didn't really hear about people talking about Jesus publicly. You didn't really see mainstream artists or actors or celebrities or influencers or people with a voice talking about Jesus and their relationship with God and how their faith has helped them grow and progress, not only in their personal life, but in their work life and their careers. And, people like Matt Rife going and getting baptized, people like The Rock starting to become vocal about their relationship with Jesus. And, I think even like someone like Justin Bieber, who has come out and explained how Jesus and his relationship with God has completely revolutionized and changed his life for the better. It's super encouraging. And I just want this, I'm saying all this to just remind you guys, if you're listening to this, that, there is a God, and he is magnificent. He is omnipresent. Wherever you go, he's always with you. And yeah, even if you can't come to one of these shows, I mean, there's churches all over the world. So I highly encourage you to go to a church, build community. And, one thing that actually has been going on in my personal life, we got back from Australia and New Zealand, and, I was like, man, I really feel like I need to find a new church. Like, I really feel like I need to go and see where my community is at, because, I grew up here in LA going to different churches. I mean, amazing churches like Zoe and Church Home and Mosaic and Oasis and The One. And don't get me wrong, I've had nothing but positive experiences and, and whatnot. But there's this one church that I started going to last week, or really 2 weeks ago, and it's called Vintage Malibu. And man, I can't describe, and again, this I guess only applies if you're in LA, or I guess you could take a flight in and you could be here. But if you get a chance, I would just highly encourage you to come to Vintage Malibu, because just the presence of the Lord that you feel is so incredible. And, the pastor does such a beautiful job of speaking the gospel, and, they have incredible guests. Last week they had Francis Chan come in and speak. And the other thing is there's dogs. There's like dogs, and there's so many dogs in this church. I've never seen this many dogs in church before. It was actually insane. And I'm just seeing these dogs, like, I feel like they're praying too. I'm like, what is going on here? There's like Chihuahuas and Siberian Huskies and all this stuff. There's more dogs than people in this church. And so a lot of like bougie dogs. So I'm not gonna lie, it's Malibu, so you're gonna get the bougie stuff there too. But man, it's just so cool, and it's in this like foresty area. It's at a ranch called Calamigos Ranch, and they've got this church in the middle of like a forest, and there's a massive like Ferris wheel with an open playground, and there's kids running around. I mean, it's one of the most incredible churches I've ever been to. And one thing I know we're bouncing around here, but one thing I want to talk about is, I think some people are like, yo, I haven't found my church yet. Or, I don't really like the church I go to because I don't like the community. And when I hear that statement, I used to think like that too. I was like, man, like, I don't know if these are my people. It just feels like people are like, not it. For like, it feels like egotistical. And then I started thinking, I was like, wait, people are going to church to build their relationship with Christ. They're going there to become closer to him. And the reality is we're all broken. So of course you're going to have broken individuals and, people that are not perfect, because that's literally all of us. And so what I realized was I needed to stop thinking about it from that perspective and lens of like, hey, I feel like this might not be the church for me, and really be like, hey, like, what am I contributing to the community? Like, what am I bringing to the table in terms of, you know, my heart for the Lord and the way I'm speaking to people, smiling at people. I mean, all these things, are so important. And I think it's important for us to try, and again, I know this is hard for some people because, you might struggle with anxiety or depression or suicidal thoughts or whatever, you might be going through. And so it might be hard to come and be the joy when you're coming to church because you're looking for joy, right? So I understand that too. But yeah, it's just kind of some thoughts that I had of like, I don't think there's ever going to be a perfect church. It's like buying a house. Like you're never going to have the perfect house. There's always going to be things that could be better and things that could be improved. But I think it's really just about like, making an effort to show up and to learn and to, communicate with people and make friends. And anyways, yeah. So I just thought I'd share you guys that life update. Got back from tour, found this new beautiful church, and moved into this new beautiful apartment in Hollywood. I've been living in Marina Del Rey for the last year, and I just felt like I needed to come back and be here in Hollywood. So we're back. I mean, I used to live here back when I was like 24, 25, and I'm 29 now. So it's cool to just kind of revisit the Hollywood landscape, and it's changed so much. But yeah, those are some of the life updates. One other thing I wanted to tell you guys and kind of speak about was, most recently, I'm sure you guys have seen the videos, but Bryce and I, my client Bryce Crawford and I launched what's called Praise Energy and Hydration. And, it's a venture that we've been working on for the last probably 8 to 9 months, if not longer. And, it's been blood, sweat, and tears of trying to put this incredible thing together. And, we had the vision that, we feel almost, or at least I don't want to speak for anyone else. I want to speak for myself. I feel a sense of responsibility because I feel like God has entrusted in me and our team to provide resources and the right content and the right products and the right services to the audience that our creators and our talent and podcasters are able to reach, right? There's billions of people that are watching these videos. And so I remember just going to the drawing board about a year ago and I was like, man, what can we provide to the people that is actually going to help them in a positive way? What's going to make them feel better about their life? What's going to improve their life, whether it's their body, their mind, their soul, their spirit? And so originally I was like, man, I feel like maybe it's a Bible app. Like, maybe it's a Bible app. Maybe it's some sort of course or education. And then I was like, wait, like, the only education you really ever need is from the Bible, and that's going to give you everything you need. So it's like, why would I give them something that, there's already the truth. You can already go directly to the source. You don't need my medium. But, we were just thinking about like something that we're excited about, and we just were like, man, we feel like maybe there's a gap in the market when it comes to energy drinks and the products that people are using and putting in their bodies, especially when they're going to the gym. And, most, or at least a lot of people take pre-workout. And I think the reality of the situation is there's all these drinks out there, like, Monster Energy and, Red Bull and all these other ones that the reality is that the ingredients just aren't good for you. And, they have things like, red dye. Like there's, even Gatorade, I think, has like red one and blue one or whatever these things are. But, like just these sweeteners and these things you can't pronounce. And it's like, what are we putting in the youth's or anyone's body? Like we're making them drink 200 milligrams of caffeine. A lot of people don't know that 200 milligrams of caffeine is 2 cups of coffee. And so they drink 2 or 3 of these cans of energy. And it's like, yo, you just had 4 to 6 cups of coffee, which by the way, may not be healthy for a lot of people. Like, some people are less sensitive to caffeine. Some people are more sensitive to caffeine. So I guess it just depends on who you are and your body type. But we were like, we feel like there's a way to serve the market in a way that's bold in faith, that is very clear that, hey, this is Christian. Like we want people to see the cross on the can. We want people to see that it's called Praise Energy. Like we want people to notice that when they go into a grocery store or a retail chain, and we want it to stand out. And so, yeah, guys, I think all of this really got me thinking, and it's something I've been praying about for a long time, which is the idea of being a successful business person while being a Christian, right? Or being a Christian and also being a successful business person. It's like there's this really weird stigma around, I think, Christians not being able to make money and to frankly be rich or be wealthy. And it's something that I'm still praying about, and truly I don't know the right answer. I've been going into the Word and trying to figure out, what the reality of this situation is. I mean, what I do know is that God calls us to use and steward our resources in the best way possible, and to bring glory to Him, and that money is a tool, and then it should not be an idol or a god to us. And I agree with that 100%. But I think there's a stigma of like Christians need to struggle and they need to give all their money away, right? Like the word doesn't call us, like God doesn't call us to donate 100% of our money. He calls us to tithe, which is 10%, so 10% of your earnings. And so, but on the other side of the coin, it's like, I also think that if you are a successful entrepreneur, and you're a Christian, and you want to, use your resources, and you feel like you should use your resources to the best way possible, I don't think it's wise to go buy a bunch of private jets when that money could go towards kids in Africa that are struggling, or, other causes that are important. So I think there's a fine line, though. I don't think it's bad to be successful and to provide for your family and to be able to enjoy the freedoms of life, like travel and good meals and nice clothes and whatnot. And so, it's this like weird thing. I do feel like it's truly just your heart behind it. And, you know, um, yeah, if you guys have any thoughts like that, please drop it down in the description or in the comments, because I'm always curious what other people think about it. Um, but what I do know is that as my faith has grown, and my decision making and the way that I approach business has completely shifted, candidly. Like, it used to be, okay, what deals can I close today? Like, how much commissions can I close today? Like, it was on some real like Wolf of Wall Street vibes of like, hey, I'm going to make 1,000 phone calls and I'm going to make X amount of money today, and then I'm going to be good. And as my faith has gotten stronger, and I've realized that really the only thing I care about is my relationship with Christ and worshiping God, is that I just want my business moves to be led by the Spirit. And so, literally down to who I feel I should call, or who I feel like God wants me to call or to text, or how to respond or what to say, or even financially, like what to ask for, what I feel is reasonable. I mean, that's completely shifted. Like, I remember when I was starting our company about 6 years ago, again, like I mentioned, it was all about just like getting the biggest check, closing the biggest deal. And if I felt on certain deals, hey, I could make an extra 50K here, an extra 5K here, I would just automatically default to doing that, as opposed to like really meditating or praying on, okay, what's the right thing to do here? And that's honestly changed. I mean, there's plenty of deals nowadays where it's like, we could take more money. We could gain more financially by negotiating and these things. But sometimes that's not right. Sometimes it's like, hey, you know what? This group has this. This is where their heart is at. This is where they feel comfortable. Okay, cool. This is reasonable. It's economically viable, and so we pursue that. And that's definitely been a big pivotal moment for me. Is like, life and business is not all about just generating the most income. It's how are you treating people, right? Like, how are you maintaining your business relationships? Are you doing things for the money, or are you doing it for the greater good and a bigger cause? And so, I think it takes practice, it takes discipline, it takes mentorship from people that have been in that space before you. And that's been a big thing for me, is surrounding myself with entrepreneurs you know, who lead with their faith and are serious about their faith, and just really understanding, okay, because I have plenty of very wealthy friends that, have a lot of money. I mean, hundreds of millions of billions of dollars. And it's like, what are they doing with their money? And, I find this trend that the families and people that I know that are truly the most joyful are the ones, not the ones that have the most money or have the highest, cash in their bank account, or the most investments, or the most resources, or the biggest cars or nicest cars. It's the ones that are enjoying the fruits of the Spirit and are prioritizing that relationship. So as we've been going deeper in this whole Christian world, and pushing the mission of Christianity through the work that we do, I've really been thinking about, approach in business. And I've really been thinking about approach in business and how to manage relationships, and the best way to, like I mentioned, negotiate. I mean, as little as working on a deal, it's like, how does a Christian negotiate a contract or approach their business deals and dealings, versus someone that doesn't have a relationship with Christ? And I was really praying about it, and I think my answer came when I read 1 John 4:18, which talks about the importance of love. And so I want to tell you guys this verse because it's so important to me. And, I try to just use this every time I'm obviously in my personal life and my life in general, but especially in business dealings because, you know, I think in business there's a level of, you know, there can always be escalation in business to where things go sour and things go south, and there will always be disagreements, or there can be disagreements in business where things become about the money, and you lose relationships with people over things like deal terms and legalities and whatnot. And so whenever I'm having a business conversation or any sort of negotiation, I really just lean into this verse, which says, "There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love." And it's more about the love aspect of this verse. I think what I've learned is when you approach even your biggest enemies in business, the people that you don't like, right? We all have people that we don't like. It's just the reality of life. And I've realized that when you love on those people through your words and your actions, and you show them who God is through the way that you act and navigate the conversation, it eases them up. I mean, and again, everyone's different. So there's going to be people that listen to this and like, hey, why are you loving on me? Like, I don't want this. And they get more furious. Like, it's just, you can't control the other person's actions or how they're going to respond. But what we can control is how we approach those conversations. And so, I just think it's so important in life, and it's such a great lesson to just lead with love. But yeah, guys, I would highly encourage you to just lead your business in love. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur and you're watching this, I highly recommend that you move in that way, and that you let the Holy Spirit guide you, because moving in fear and with aggression and in conflict is never going to be productive. I mean, I've never been in a legal situation where it ended up positive for me or the other person. All it did was drain the time, drain the resources, drain the energy. And I've been in situations in business where I could have gone the legal route, or I could have pursued these negative actions that would harm the other person and severely or significantly benefit me, but not going down that path and being true to that to that aspect of love has honestly just brought so much peace of mind. And I think in business you get to a point where really all you want is peace. All you just want to have is peace, because the deals are going to get bigger, the volume is going to get bigger, and it can really take over you. But when you realize that the only thing that matters is your relationship with God, and that everything else is temporary, you can't take your money with you, you can't take your business with you. But, so yeah, guys, but I just want to encourage you with this last little prayer that I thought was beautiful in relation to that verse, 1 John 4:18. And it says, "Loving Father, thank you that I can come to you as your beloved child without fear. I can come with tenderness and reverence, with neediness and confidence, with brokenness and awe. You are holy, majestic, and awe-inspiring, yet I do not have to be terrified to come to you with my inadequacies. May your love for me produce a closer likeness to your holiness, righteousness, justice, and mercy in me than any fear could ever cause. I pray in the mighty name of Jesus, who ransomed me from sin and poured out his love upon me. Amen." But yeah, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in. It's been such a pleasure hanging out with you guys. Make sure you guys leave a review, subscribe, stay tuned for another episode coming soon. Have a blessed week, and we'll see you guys in the next one.